So, nakasimulan at ah, ito na yung huling part ng lecture series na i-upload ko. Ah, Meron pa mga next na series o yung mga lectures na hindi ko pa na-discuss. In fact, sa mga previous ko na klase, pati sa subject. So ito, galing to sa isang subject ko from Intro to Museology in Anthro Studies. So, ito yung Art History and Museology. So, ito sa mga readings na binigay sa akin ah professor ko, si Sir Jobers. No? At pinagsahin ko siya, um, if I'm not mistaken, last year or last semester. Then, it's about art history and museology. So again, I am Rastelian B. Beltran from the School of Arts Sciences, graduating student of Bachelor of Arts Major in History. So, itong topic na 'to meron siyang outline, P7, then, of course, the last is the conclusion. Introduction to art history and museology. The second one is art as a museum object. Then the object in space and time, the subject in the museum, and also the Masonic idea of the museum. Then the last part would be the conclusion. So for the introduction, what is art history and the brief description of museology? So the basic question, what is the nature of the museum object? For example, this is an image taken from the newly opened National Museum of Cebu, here in Cebu City. And there are three bullets that needed to be explained though. So the first bullet is chronologically or choreographically. The second one is based from exemplary objects, objects inside of the museum, and also its relationships towards the other artifacts, museum objects. There are also similarities and differences between each museum artifacts, no, that needed to be studied. Therefore, it's chronological order based on time period. It has to be precise and also carefully studied. Based on the recent excavations, also we can see what time period it has been made and produced, and what time period, based on scholars, they discovered it. No, it was during the 70s, 1950s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. There was a long studies of various archaeologists, anthropologists, even historians and other scholars and other researchers across the world to know what exactly these objects are, particularly the recent paintings in the late 2000s. So art history and museology has separate definition. And in museology, it is a practice and also an arranging and managing of museums. While museography, on the other hand, is a systematic description of museum objects and collections. So, these are writing of thematic descriptions, but also giving appropriate and also accurate descriptions. Therefore, you needed museum studies and also museum objects to be clearly identified. In art history, it is an abstract. Uh, Basically, there are different types and forms of arts, no? And another one is the anamorphic art. There are a series of transformations along the time period that has been created or um, being painted, no? For example, this art right here, the question is it an art or not? This piece of art right here was taken, an image taken from the University of the Philippines, Cebu. This one exhibited along with the fine art students. In fact, it was I think last year, no? Last semester from August to December, where they will held an exhibit for their finals. No? And is it an art or not? We can give um, preliminary presumptions, no, that it is an art, therefore it is abstract. But when I asked my fellow friend, who is also a student of UPC Blue, is a fine art student, um, the artist claimed no, because when when a fire ravaged, at least in, yeah, that was last year, no. I think here in one of the districts in Cebu City, kasamang natupok yung bahay nila, no? And what inspired the artist is that this art is actually reflection of melting things, no? Melting the house and his dreams, including because no na natunog nga yung mga gamit ng bahay nila at I think sabi nung friend ko ay onti lang yung naisalba ng art student na yun. Therefore, ginamit niya yung inspiration na yun not to give up and basically to be inspired even more, to create a story and to create a visual narrative what an art should be like, based on the artist's perspective. And there are also qualities and modernity of art. The task of confronting disciplinary knowledge today is no longer simply of that gluing back together the fragments of the past, and also the shards of disciplinary practices, so as to reconstitute by the hindsight of competence unity. So therefore, art history was not just going back the memories of the past and the simple fragments that has been belonged to the different time periods of history. Therefore, art has changes across time, change across with the various historical periods. And the definition of art history and museology, according to Plato, no, he theorized a divine terror, the theos phobos, an exact way that phenomena were were taking place in history, and there are alternative interpretations of how should art be interpreted. There is also a sense of complexity and the literary potential. Therefore, Greeks and also the Roman artists way back then, no, during the classical period, had so much to offer when it comes to art, history, technology, even in architecture. No, these are the major um, classical periods in history where has so much involvement in the different fields of not just in science and technology, but majority in social sciences. And there are also the relationships of objects, and this is one of the most crucial things because modern day artists, no, most of them are driven by the current time period that they were in. For example, in the 21st century, we can see changes from shifting to the technical to the digital age, the technical age, basically, the early 2000s, there wasn't much of a development for technology, no, but across the years had passed by. So now we have AI, no, we have even simple objects that can really um, talk visually and even has a sense of similarity to us. Therefore, in museums, in the relationships of objects, there it has to be a connection. In history, tinuturo sa amin, basic in basic historiography or the writing of history, tinuturo sa amin what is a narrative in a relation to historical time period. Ano nga ba yung connection nila? Because a certain object in history will remain an object. It does not have any stories or connections to be involved with, no? Wala siyang sense, wala rin siyang material use, even cultural use, no? Pinag-aaralan yan here in art history and in museology. And ayun nga, by the definition of it. And as an art museum object, no, history has the basic facts through significance formed in the figure of truth. A story that belongs to a narrative, there has some to be an evolution. Therefore, object has its lessons driven and even um, carried upon from the past or the lessons of the past. And whether it is staged or not, these networks of formal relationships has a mirror, either be it hidden or invisible. In a self-emulation process through the reads of read through and against nuances, theoretical and methodological aspects. No, here in this article of the book, um, I think the author argued, no, to render legible what is visible, to see the bigger picture and the visual imagery of what museum objects look like, what museum objects could interpret and give interpretations to its audience or its targeted audience, the people who are normally going to the inside and outside of the museum, whether it is a formal exhibit, whether it is a semi cultural exhibit, and even in other forms of objects inside of the museum. Now, the object in space and time here is the comparison between the space and time in museology and museography, in history and historiography. In space, when we talk about space, there is there, no? It is physically present. A museum object is physically present, and it was there. Therefore, it has a significance in metonymy, and therefore it is a metaphor in in studying about it, about the museum object. Therefore, it is also allomorphic, no, and it is true and pure. While in time, it was not there. It has a sense of commodity, therefore aesthetic and monetary exchange in value. For example, paintings, no, you cannot go back in time to ask a certain artist what what is the value of a certain painting. No? Therefore, you cannot go back into the past. You cannot travel time back into the past to ask that certain artist now what is the value of this painting. How could you give monetary uh, value to this historical piece? And in modernity, there is a sense of formalism and therefore contextualism. How could you contextualize a certain piece of historical object, a certain painting, given to its time when it was created? In modernity, there is a Western connotations and via semiological approach, in studying history in historiography. Therefore, there's a sense of uh, the difference between museology and the history and the historiography. Because the main problem of history and museum objects that is basically in common is that because they cannot go back there to that specific time period. So therefore, the object must speak for itself. No? That's why if you notice, some of the descriptions in the museums do not have long sentences, unlike in history and historiography, where you have to read 48 pages of essays and articles. So, because museums tend to describe and tend to use descriptions that is visible already for the people. Therefore, it has to speak for itself, no? What time period, what is the purpose of this museum object, sino yung mga gumamit itong mga museum objects na to before, no? At yun nga yung separation between history and historiography, no? Malaki yung deal niya because again, scholars, researchers, even museum enthusiasts, and even art history scholars could not go back to the past to ask what inspired the artist or what inspired the people back then to create this kind of object that we now see in museums visually. Now, there's also the subject in the museum. the natures of museum object. In summa, this the sense of in optical lenses, the present otherness, the present, the absent. And another one is looking out for itself in the realm of constructive thought. There's also imagery or the use of medium and a certain thing. And there is a sense of westernization, therefore an objectification of museum images. So the last, I think this is the last part before the conclusion. So the Masonic idea of the museum. So the museum idea of Freemasonry started in the Age of Enlightenment, no? Shaping experience for citizenship by the jury, through citizens, community, nation. It's a new form of fraternization not dependent upon the social status, political kinship, or bonds, therefore tied to the social revolutions or social changes of two separate continents. Therefore, it has a free but speculative instead of theory and practice. It also creates social change and transformation across time. It has a collection by reading together, togetherness, no? And one of the best key points of this part of the book, no, by the Johansson's museum is a radical one, which can be simply understood as a proactive and constructive rather than passive and consumptive. So there is uh, a proactiveness of museum objects, how it should be understood inside of a museum. Therefore, it has to be constructive also, and rather than being just passive, was there but does not have any meaning at all. So for the conclusion, the search is not over to yet explore other realms of fascinations towards museums, of what we can find inside the museum, appeal of appearance that drives curiosity towards the populace, no? And this the search for knowledge, the search for meanings, no? Search for stories, what museum objects stories tells about, no? Uh, Museum exists because it has to convey, it has to give us a free space of uh, knowledge for people. Or therefore, we can go there by uh, going at least the whole day, maybe even twice a month. Or what is new inside of a museum every month? What is new annually every year? No, but most museums, no, and it is also in the guide book of museums that it should be non-profit, no, uh, institution. So therefore, museums have a sense of towards nationhood. No, there are changes in dealing with descriptions of museum objects, and the populace must understand also that museums exist not just for the sole purpose of aesthetic and even in the digital age, you know, not just for imagery and pictures and videos in reels, no. Um, museum use um these museum objects use, no, its meanings to convey to the people, to to give knowledge what the past is all about. So yun lang, daghang salamat and don't hesitate to ask my reference, a companion to museum studies edited by Sharon Macdonald, 2006, published by Blackwell. So see you in the next, and hope you guys stay well and stay safe. Goodbye.